Hi, I'm your host, Anand J. Sukadia, and this is the Limitless One podcast. Join me on this journey as I interview the most inspirational souls who are tapping into their limitless blueprint on a mental, physical, and spiritual level to thrive in uncertain times. If you feel you are so much more than just this body, just this life, and want to tap into your limitless potential, you're in the right place. Here we go, starseeds. Welcome back to the Limitless One podcast. Let's talk about near-death experiences and one man's amazing journey. Going from a successful tech entrepreneur who has started and sold 3 different companies to having his life completely transformed by a major frequency upgrade that entirely changed his life, bringing back fragments of his soul that had previously been fractured. Some call it a walk-in, and today on the Limitless One podcast, we are honored to hear Ken Lloyd's detailed journey of ascended acceleration. Ken is a one-of-a-kind spiritual healer. He has integrated 13 different soul aspects from his oversoul into his third density body as a result of a near-death experience. This allows him to embody higher dimensional frequencies and facilitate connections across universes to deliver ascension and healing codes to humanity. Ken consistently demonstrates rapid energy shifts in the body, resulting in rapid emotional, physical, and spiritual healing in many cases. Additionally, Ken's energy field will raise one's resonance frequency from current levels to their 5D harmonics by engaging with him in physical proximity or through virtual events, both live and recorded. As a spiritual gift activator, Ken's mission is to unlock those gifts embedded within one's to give his clients complete access to their DNA blueprint and reclaim their highest mission and life purpose. Welcome to the Limitless One podcast. Ken Lloyd, how are you doing, brother?
I'm wonderful, amazing, actually, feeling fantastic after my latest and greatest upgrades, if you will.
Absolutely. And I cannot wait to go into this. Actually, I took a couple of months off. I was just telling you off air due to the birth of my baby boy. And now that we kind of like settle things down, have somewhat of an idea on how to handle things with him, I'm beyond thrilled to get into this whole multi-dimensional realms and your incredible story as we speak today.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to sharing again what just took place, but more importantly, what it is that I'm doing with the gifts that have been given to me for others, which is incredibly important, incredibly vast, if you will, to continue to give to others.
Absolutely. So to kick off the podcast, what does living a limitless life mean to you?
So for me, it's not about waking up every day and trying to have all these experiences in life. Visit this place, go that place, and those things. For me, it is about how deep can I go on my inner journey to bring that forth to others, right? How much work can I do? How much work can I have done on me? How do I cultivate all of this amazing information and energy that's flowing through me so I can give and give and give. And however that shows up, it shows up for me, for a limitless life, I've taken the steps in my 3D world to remove the things that are preventing me from being the very best, spiritual person that I can. And when I say that, it's not, again, about me, how spiritual can I be? It's about how can I remove, and we'll talk a little bit about frequencies in a little bit, but how can I remove the things in my 3D world that are preventing me from raising my frequency? Because as I raise mine, I get to deliver more. And that really is the ultimate goal for me. Limitless is removing the things that prevent me from being the best for others.
Beautiful. Yeah, we keep our own brakes on, I guess, are in our own lives. And the more I go through self-development and learn these things and try to just, it's all about removing, right? Like we're perfect as we are. And, just to what you were saying is like, yeah, we continue to keep evolving into the next iteration of ourselves, removing this stuff. But if we are limitless beings, then like, how could we like it's just like it's a little bit overwhelming to see like how deep does the rabbit hole go in terms of how much we can learn about ourselves, but then also balancing out by just being appreciative of all the work that we're doing, because it could get really overwhelming the more we kind of go into all these subtle layers of consciousness.
Yeah, it does. and even for me, I need time off, right? I need to take a break. I need to be able to step aside from what I'm doing. But, you know, when you have, I'm what they call a soul brain infusion, when you have all these other consciousnesses inside of you, they all want to be able to kind of interact. And I don't mean in a very, very visceral way, but there's this pull inside of me that says, let's go do these things. Let's go have these conversations. And so with what just took place in Yelapa, Mexico, I'm relearning who I am. I'm relearning the experiences, the likes and the dislikes. So all these things are starting to bubble up and creating a whole new reality that previously I didn't have. So yeah, we are our own breaks, if you will. Trying to recognize those is important.
Definitely. So Ken, tell us a little bit about your background. I want to know like how you, evolved into the version that you are today of Ken Lloyd as he stands before us.
Okay, so just a real quick background. So I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've created 3 cybersecurity companies and I sold all of them. So in 2018, I was going through my last acquisition. The business partner, the business relationship was very tumultuous, was not a healthy one at all. In fact, I actually ended up with a brain tumor, which later was biopsied as a cortisol cyst and a cortisol tumor all wrapped in one little pretty bow. And the result of this is that I was under an incredible amount of stress at that time in my life. Had spent all my money to build the business up, and here we are in the middle of an acquisition. And I was angry, very, very angry. And I was on a lot of ADHD meds. I was on a lot of energy drinks, right? Just trying to push through the day, employees across the globe. Through this process, I ended up with a near-death experience. So I was triggered one day and I'm laying in bed and I actually had my back arch up and I felt something coming out of my body and it lasted for about 2 minutes. Now, what's interesting is when we think about a near-death experience, everyone seems to have a story. I saw a light, I had a conversation, all these beautiful things come into light and information and they come back and tell their story. But that's not what happened for me. For me, when the energy came out of the body, it was making room for 13 soul aspects to walk in. So they call a soul braid walk in. I had 13 other soul aspects of me. You can think of them different lives that are being lived, aspects of them step into my body. So what was removed was my root chakra, all of my trauma. Now, at that point, I didn't have any spirituality in my life, never meditated, never did anything, had no religious background. None of this had ever entered my radar. And I didn't even know it was taking place. But what happened shortly after is my life became a little more peaceful. And then I started seeing psychics. Like, what just happened? What just happened? And I'd get little pieces and little pieces and little pieces of information. So ultimately, I stumbled across some folks that let me know, hey, you're what they call a soul braid. You're a soul walking. You have other aspects. Now, the importance of this wasn't that I got information turned on. It wasn't that I was instantly able to meditate. None of those things. But they started altering my physical body. I started having tingles. We would call them like goosebumps, right? Or those numbness when you sleep on your arm, but it was in my skin and in my bones. So the more I laid still, the more this beautiful euphoria of energy would go through my body. They're preparing me for what just took place over the past month. So we're going to fast forward a little bit here. From 2018 until now, I've had the ability to heal others in a very, very different way. I'm able to connect to them as we're talking right now and see the energy in the body and literally reach in and move it. And often the results are pretty instantaneously. Other times they take a few sessions, but I'm able to find the reason the energy is there and remove it. So in December just passed, my higher self stepped into my body. So we have those 13 soul aspects. And then we have my higher self. His name's Chimeric. And he stepped into my body and he began merging myself, him, and the 13 into one new consciousness. Sounds kind of scary. And it was kind of scary. So I'll talk about that in a minute. But in order to do this, I needed to go to a quiet place. I needed to be tapped out. So I took 2 months off all my energy work and I went to a place called Jalapa, Mexico. Now, Jalapa, Mexico, they have no cars. You only get there by boat. You're sharing the 6-foot road with the horses, the donkeys, and the 4x4s. So this is the place, very, very quiet. And I was there for 30 days. And through this process, the energies began merging into one. And then the oversoul, my oversoul also spun off 3 aspects of energy, consciousnesses, and put them into my body. The way this works is that the human body is the lowest frequency, the lowest density, if you will. And then we have the 13, we have my higher self, and the oversoul. Now, the reason I'm doing this is that these energies that are in my body are continuing to impact my physical structure, my DNA, the cellular structure, to raise the frequency of my body up, up, up to the highest frequency. All of us are being elevated. Now, as that happens, new gifts get turned on, access to information. Now, this is true for all of us. So when we are doing our own spiritual work, we're meditating, we're dropping in, we're doing the diet changes, we're doing the life changes, we're removing those things in our life that are lower vibration. We are raising our core frequency. When that happens, our gifts naturally show up. They're already there, but you kind of get visibility and access to them. For me, it's a little different because the mission I have is to heal millions of people and through group sessions and through large events. But to do that, my body has to be modified and my frequency has to be ultra elevated to do that. So the body has to be able to fit these frequencies in there. So the healing I do isn't just physical, it's also soul. It's mind, body, it's the whole package. When I go in there and I look at somebody's situation, dis-ease, if you will, I never tell them what they've got going on. I couldn't tell you if you've got a virus or a bacteria or a broken arm. Like I don't know those things. But what I do know is the energy. And I can see the past life connection or the childhood trauma or the emotion attached to it, the ancestral. I can see parallel lives. I can see soul aspects or fragments. All of these are energy. And those energies impact our energetic field, impact our body. When we remove those energies, our body naturally goes back to its healed state. So this is what I do. So I go in there, I remove the things that don't belong and the reason they came in the first place. And then the body resorts itself almost instantly, often.
So essentially, if you break it down, as you're working on the mental, physical, spiritual, intellectual, emotional, all these levels, getting the body into balance, removing certain things that are holding us back, whether it's through parallel lives, past lives, physical traumas, emotional traumas, you name it. Once the body gets into balance, then the body just naturally knows how to start healing itself. Is that kind of to break it down?
Absolutely. It's like your tire wants to be round and balanced naturally, right? So same thing here. Your body wants to be stable.
Okay, wonderful. So break down what soul aspects are. You mentioned it a couple times during our readings and our sessions together, but kind of like help me understand a little bit, or help the audience understand what specifically a soul aspect is. Is it an entity? Is it an energy, or is it part of your own soul? Like, if you could just break that down for us.
So in this context, it's going to be part of your own soul. Perhaps you've had a traumatic incident, maybe it's childhood trauma. All right. There's an aspect of you that kind of breaks off a little bit. It's you, it's still your consciousness, but it's the trauma piece. It's the part that's so traumatized, it just kind of steps away from the body for a little bit. Right. So in that aspect, what I'm doing is I'm healing the aspect that stepped away, the hidden part, the we don't want to call it damaged goods, but those frequencies. When I heal that, then I take that part that stepped out and put it back in you to make you whole again. Now, when we take the context of soul aspects walking into my body, in this particular case, it's not that there is trauma associated with any of the 13. Each one of those soul aspects brought a gift. They brought a frequency. They brought access to me. I don't know the details, intricacy of each one of the 13. I didn't have that type of relationship with them before they merged. But, one of them I did have a conversation with, and he brought the gift of light language. All right. So his job where he was at was to communicate with ETs and different species. And he was a linguist, but using light language. So when he came in, he brought that with me. He brought that light language ability with him. Now we can all speak light language, those of us that are doing the work. But at that time, there were about 300 different light languages that he had given me access to. Do I speak them to people? No. But when I'm in my session and an entity shows up or an extraterrestrial shows up or whatever, I'm able to use that light language with telepathy to communicate. And they're telling me right now I'm at 710 different light languages. And so that'll continue to increase. Soul aspects, again, don't have to be damaged. They can bring gifts, if you will. In my case, technologies installed in me.
Beautiful. So almost like higher potentialities of your soul. And
Yep.
you're accessing from all different places. You might not have been able to do it in a 3D realm to access these, but you're accessing so many different levels or consciousnesses, parallel lives, all these things. So now you're able to kind of bring all these tools in into one.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we talk about tools, let's kind of shift just a little bit here. As I said, my physical body's altered. And the way this works is that there's a frequency that my body gets off. So right now it's about 410 feet. So if you find yourself within 410 feet of me in physical proximity, you get the same effect as if you're doing a virtual session with me. Meaning that if you've done the work, your spiritual work, and you're ready for the healing to take place, it'll take place just by being in my physical proximity. You don't have to interact with me. All right. So again, some of these technologies, because my body's being modified, this frequency will be up to 1 kilometer after December this year. That's what they tell me. And they continue to grow it. Back in November, it was like 45 feet, and now we're like 410. So continues to expand and expand, expand. Some of the other things that they've installed, we talk about tools or technologies, is something called the Living Library. So I'm still trying to get familiar with this, but this is installed in my cellular structure. And it's a record of everything that has been and will be across multiple species, across the universes. It's not like the Akashic records, right? In here, I can go in and modify things. I can modify timelines. I can modify the contracts that we have, right? So when we come in, we're going to have this experience and that experience. Well, I'm able to go there and modify all of that inside the Living Library. So more and more tools are showing up after all of these changes that are taking place. And this is my lifelong journey, is to continue to bring in technologies or tools so everybody can access them, not just me.
So now I understand why you were a tech CEO and understanding systems and programs and data, because it was necessary right now.
I got to tell you that the correlation between what I used to do and what I'm doing now is just so uncanny. It's like, wow. So as a cybersecurity guy, my job was to find the bad guy, right? And go in there and write antivirus code to prevent that thing from happening, and try to think about, well, what is he going to do next and prevent that? So it's a puzzle. It's a cat and mouse game. Well, it's the same thing in the healing side. I'm literally going in there trying to figure the puzzle out. Where's the problem? And I write code. So when I work on somebody, I work on somebody's shoulder, is the example I like to use, and the pain goes away. What happens in the background is I write quantum healing codes. I write these codes that are stored in my physical body so that when somebody else shows up, it's done. They get it. So same thing. I write code. But yeah, it's really, looking back, I'm like, wow, would have never, ever thought I would apply it like I do today.
And why do you think that this happened to you amongst all people? And like, did you get any messages in terms of why this happened? Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that it happened. It was always going to take place. So my job is a quantum blueprinter. All right. And I jump around from universe to universe, and I show up at times of great ascension wherever I go. And I bring the technologies to whatever race that is to accelerate their ascension. So accelerate ascension. This is what I do. This isn't unusual. This wasn't a gift out of the blue that says, hey, we're just going to give it to this random guy. This is literally what I do. I've never done it in a human form before. So this is a challenge, is trying to get this human body up to the point where I can bring in all of those things to accelerate the ascension. So one of the ways we accelerate ascension is by raising our frequency, all of us. right? We talk about turning the news off. We talk about healing. When you're in my field, when you're in my sessions, especially the group ones, I'm actually elevating your frequency to your 5D levels, your 5D harmonics is what they call that. So not only healing or purging emotions, your frequency rises and it'll stay there for several weeks. If you're someone like you and you attend the group sessions, your frequency is going to stay up there. It's just going to stay. But for most people, it'll go up for a week or two and then start dropping off, which means, okay, now there's more work you need to do, so on and so forth. So yeah, I've always done this. I just haven't done it in this capacity as a human.
Yeah, really incredible. I've attended a couple of your group sessions, the meditations, and also had two privates with you, just one recently. And I have to tell you, like, you absolutely, it's a visceral feeling. The minute you start the meditation, me and my wife are sitting there, and literally, we don't like it. It's like we're gone. Like we don't even know what's going on until after it ends, and it could be like 45 minutes to an hour. I think there was one you did in November. She was still pregnant, yeah. So like November or December, and my goodness, like we just felt like we traveled the galaxy for for centuries, and then came back, and we just looked at each other, it's like, what just happened?
What just happened? And I got to tell you, it's looking at that same thing, but from my side, I don't notice it. Like I don't have energy flowing through my body, right? I don't have this crazy utopia experience myself. I'm literally just repeating the visual images that they give me to repeat. And interestingly enough, and I tell everyone, we're gonna jump in for 45 minutes. We're gonna follow the bouncing ball, but the bouncing ball is just a distraction. The visualizations are just a distraction. My team and the energies in my body are working on you the moment you connect. And they do want you to fall asleep or go on a journey or just kind of allow yourself to drift. We don't really want you to follow those bouncing balls. We want you to let go, just let go and allow whatever you need to show up. And it does. And it shows up for about 7 days. Life gets a little bumpy for about 7 days after those healing sessions.
Yeah.
Because as they say, to heal, you need to feel it. And you're going to have the emotional purges. You're going to have the insomnia, or you're going to have the inability to wake up and you be so tired. You go through this whole range as your body just begins getting rid of all those things you didn't need.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will attest to that. After the two privates that we had, the next 7 days after each one of them was very, it was crazy. It was chaotic. A lot of things happened. The first time I think we did it in September as a one-on-one, and then like I had to get rid of an employee. I found out some things about that person that was just like I was shocked about, and the frequency wasn't matching. And then we had a trip planned. Everything was all expense paid. We were going to Lake Tahoe. It was going to be amazing. And then at 3 in the morning, there was a little complication with the pregnancy. We ended up not going. Everything
Mm.
ended up being fine, but we ended up taking a small little vacation locally and got to really, I had a lot of soul searching to do that week, because I was in a very bad place. I was like, oh, how come we couldn't go on this vacation? How come we're having these issues? But like at the end of it, we did a meditation on the last day of our short little trip. And my goodness, I was just like, floodgate opened up. It's like every single thing that happened in the last 7 years was exactly designed. And it kind of just gave me an entire like history lesson of every interaction I had was exactly on purpose. And leading up to the point where like I was on the beach and I started walking up to, this is after all these things are happening, and it's a morning meditation, and all these like birds just all of a sudden raise off the sand and start circling me and creating this vortex around me, and they're like flying around me, and I just feel the energy of that. And
Mm.
then at the very end of the meditation, I see this boat. It was in Cape May, and it says Lifeboat 2017. And literally that's exactly when I made this huge decision to change my life, and it was like, whoa, okay, this
Oh,
is all
that's
making
awesome.
sense now. Yeah. And then just last week when we had the thing, like there was a couple of things that happened. I had some really crazy family realizations that made me look at people or perspective in a different way. Much of it was positive. Some of it was like, okay, wow, this makes a lot of sense. And then I had to terminate two of
Mm.
our customers. And then because they were just being like really, really difficult energy wise for our staff and everything. And then I had to let one of my other employees go. And I've only
Wow.
really let go of three employees over the course of my entire 7 years. So it's really amazing that, or coincidental, I don't believe in coincidences, but these things happen, like the purge, these changes start happening right after a session with you.
Yeah, I have a lot of people who talk about life changes that take place, and things fall out of their life. Things that they couldn't get rid of or wouldn't get rid of, or wouldn't make those leaps. And sometimes things leave their lives and they didn't realize that was caustic for them. But the other thing happens too, where the things come into their lives, new relationships, job offers, this crazy thing, healing your frequency. It's not just about the body, it's about your entire environment, everything. They say that we attract those things in our lives that we are. And if we have these negative experiences, the low vibrational experiences that are hitting us all day long, it's hard to bring in those, manifestation techniques to get them to work. But when you drop off what I call the sandbags off the hot air balloon, right? And it may be tough, but when you get rid of those things out of your life, the good comes in. It's a natural phenomenon. It's not because you deserve it. It's not because you've done some, praying 1,000 times. It's natural. It's natural for these good things to come in, but you got to do the work. You got to get rid of those things that are deharmonizing your Zen.
Yeah, 100%. You gotta create the space for the beauty to come in. Now, Ken, you talk a little bit about soul contracts and how you decided before you came here that you were going to have this experience and come online at a certain time in your life to start helping others. This concept of star seeds, people talk about how a lot of people are here for these reasons to like really bring light into the world. Do you believe that everybody who created these soul contracts of coming online to a certain extent and helping humanity ascend into greater consciousness, do all of them actually take the calling, or at some point do they
No,
decide it's just too hard for them in this 3D reality and not really take on that task?
absolutely, absolutely. We have soul contracts. We have things we want to accomplish while we're here, experiences we want to have, and maybe that experience is coming online, right? But life is tough. As they say, the human in the 3D is the densest, the lowest energy in terms of density. So when you're up there and you're making these contracts, things are a lot faster, less smoother. And you look down, you're like, oh, easy peasy. But then you get down here and it's like going through, quicksand. It's just thick and everything takes forever down here. So does it take to heal and to undo the damage to reach the point where we can then step in? So not everyone heeds the call. I had a choice not to heed the call. In fact, in Yalapa this past month, when I was going through this entire soul merge, I ended up in depression. They were removing so many things that I ended up dropping my frequency down to the point where, like, I'm done. Walk me out. So we have a walk in. Well, we have walkouts as well. And I'm like, take me. I'm done. This up, down, this emotion thing, this situation, I'm here to serve. But you know what? I've reached my point. So I had a choice. I didn't take the choice, but it was plain as day right in front of me. They're like, you can stay or you can go. What do you want to do? And it's the same thing. We all make choices of whether we want to awaken to who we are, right? Or if we want to continue to have the experience of the human without that interference, because it'll change your life. It'll absolutely change your life. And everything you thought you knew who you were, you're like, oh, wait, oh, I'm a whole nother person.
Yeah, this raising of consciousness is not an easy thing. I decided like 7 years ago, okay, I'm gonna really elevate my life. I'm gonna open up a healing center for our community, and everything's gonna be amazing and easy after that. But like literally, the challenges that I go through, even just trying to have a business that's conscious and trying to help other people, it's wild. And like sometimes I ask myself, like, I could have been, like the money I invested, I could have bought Bitcoin at that time. I didn't have to worry about it. I could be traveling the world. I'd be totally fine, but and not really doing anything. But then that was one of the pitfalls I had before. I wasn't having any fulfillment in life. And if I look at it from this perspective of like actually making the decision to go through that route, there was so many lessons, so many abilities for me to grow on multiple levels, emotionally, physically, spiritually, but then also the people that came into my life. So it's like I truly believe that, yeah, sometimes we have to go through the fire in order to kind of come out on the other side, and it's necessary. Like you can't just have an easy ascension. Like this life, this 3D Earth 2024, it's just getting quicker and quicker and quicker. It's like, where is it going to get just like calm down? Like that's what I think sometimes, but maybe it's not meant to. But in order for a diamond to, get created, like it has to go through, a really long time of being coal, and that pressure
Mhm.
forges that beautiful rock. But without that pressure, there's no change.
No, there's always chaos before the calm. And we can look at it at the micro or the macro, right? When we look at ourselves, we go through a lot of turbulence before we see that beautiful clear water. And the same thing when you look at Earth as general, the Earth history that's taken place, a lot of chaos, it'll calm down. The one thing I did want to comment was, the idea that, raising our frequency isn't easy, when we go through these trials and tribulations. And, when you begin down that path, you find yourself drawn deeper and deeper and deeper into it. Like it becomes every aspect of you. And it was brought to my attention the other day that, you know, while we're here having an experience, our soul is expanding. All right. It is here to expand. It's not here to do the same thing over and over and over. It's here to have an experience. It's here to expand. And expansion is the chaos. It's those things we have to go through to have those experiences to begin like the balloon, just expand a little bit and then a little bit more and a little bit more. And this is what happens as we go through our whole consciousness evolution. We are expanding our soul. We're doing it here in the human in the 3D.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about, like, more in depth and elaborate on the last, the 30 days in Mexico? And, where were you that you feel that you were prior to that, because you got the calling that you need to do further work and have more emerging going on. So where are you, before this happened, during the process, if you could walk us through some of the really, the details of it, and then kind of now where you are and where you're planning to kind of take this.
Yeah, I'll do my best. The more embodied or the more consciousness I have, the less memory I seem to
Mhm.
retain often. But back in December, my higher self came in. Now, I usually don't meditate, right? I mean, I just drop in, I start asking questions. That's just the way it's always been for me. But I got the message to go into the meditation room and just sit there, and I did. And it was a 15-minute duration where I couldn't move my body. I couldn't twitch. I couldn't do anything. I just was locked into the sitting position. And I remember feeling the energies come in, chimeric, and I started asking him a zillion questions. And I could hear from his responses, he was just a little busy, right? Then he shut me down. So imagine sitting there for another 13 minutes, not able to move and not having a thought. No brain chatter, no nothing, just feeling and witnessing everything happening in the body. Up until that point, my healings were going fantastic. I do group sessions, or I do groups. I do events in Sarasota, Florida. I do them in Naples, Florida, and I was actually in Sedona the month before doing an event, and I thought I was rocking and rolling. Like things were just amazing. I didn't think it was going to shift, and then this day happened. Fast forward 15 days later, it was New Year's Eve, and I get the inner knowing that a merge has now started. A merge isn't instant. The frequencies, everything has to blend together, and it takes a little while. 7 days after that, my entire life changed. Everything that I thought was stable was now destabilized. All right. They had me asking for a divorce. They had me selling the house, selling my vehicles, selling everything in my world. And, to the average person, you think, whoa, what just happened? Right? Somebody needs some medication, but that wasn't the case. What had happened in hindsight is that I can look back now and see I had literally reached the ceiling of my frequencies. I could no longer grow. I could no longer do any more. And, just like, they're showing me a picture now of like the hatchling, it has to break the barriers. So the same thing with me. I had to remove everything in my life, and it was very painful. Still is painful, right? In order to create a new foundation. So think of the idea of building a home, a 3-story home. You're not putting a 4-story on there. This was never architecture designed like that. So now what they're doing, use the same metaphor, is they're building the framework for a skyscraper. So this is what I've been going through. The process from December until about March was just going through the 3D motions of dealing with life and dealing with those decisions. And I found myself in a position where I wasn't able to heal as effectively as I was before. So I shut off all my sessions for 60 days. I stopped seeing clients. And I got to tell you, to imagine your entire life being turned upside down And then the one thing you enjoy doing every day in and out is helping others. And then that's paused. This is what I was going through. So I have a practitioner, her name's Arnarni of Light, who went along with me on this journey, and she did all of the work on me over the period of 30 days in Yelapa. And this meant solitude for the first 15 days. I didn't go out of the apartment. I didn't wander the streets. I didn't meet and greet anybody because my energy had been broken down to this raw form where anything could have influenced and tainted the process. So I had to stay in the hospital, we call it a clean room. Mm-hmm. The same thing here energetically, right? No outside contact until it was rebuilt. She began the process of clearing the energy fields and communicating with each one of the soul aspects, as well as chimeric. And the way this worked is 11 of the 13 did the first merge. So they all harmonized into a certain frequency. And then the other two in chimeric harmonized into a frequency. And then they all merged into one. This was over a period of about 3 weeks. And as this happened, it'll happen in the middle of the night. It's not like I'm sitting there and I'm watching what's going on. In fact, I was almost turned off. For those of us that go through these big shifts, we'll always notice a pattern. You get radio silence. Like they stop talking right before these really big things happen. And this is the same thing that happened to me. So what I didn't realize was going to take place is I thought chimeric was the highest of the high for me. Like that was it. Like I'm done. Well, his oversoul, named Vandevar, spun off 3 of his soul aspects. Now, these, as they say, is the highest of the high of the angelic realm. So super, really high frequency. And no, I don't have numbers. I can't put them into that. But they merged into one, and they merged into the body. And then everybody's moving up to their frequency. So right now, while I'm one consciousness with everything, Ken is still not totally on board with the whole thing. Like there's a big part of me that says, I don't want to lose who I am. I don't want to lose my personality, and I don't want to lose this or that or the other. So while I showed up, bags in hand, ready to do the job, let's get this rock and roll, and I'm excited, there's an aspect of me that wasn't ready because it wasn't explained to me what's actually taking place. So let me try to put it into better context what a soul merge is, or an infusion, a soul infusion. When you read a book, you're expanding your mind. You're getting new words, new phrases, new information in, right? We're expanding. Every time we have an experience in life, it's an expansion. It doesn't change who you are, right? But if you read enough history books, you might find yourself more of a history guy, right? We change who we are based on the information coming in. Well, that's the same thing happening here. So I'm not leaving. I'm simply pulling in these massive aspects of myself, these higher frequencies, and I'm getting access to what I really am at this level. And that's going to change who I am. I'll still be Ken. I'll still have the personality. But just like somebody who reads a lot of history books and a historian now, that's their preference. Now I'm going to have all these different technologies as information that'll become my way of life in every breath going forward. So I hope that was a little long-winded, but brought some explanation in. So yes, they're there. And that happened about 3 weeks ago, roughly. And what's happening now is the body is stepping up. Every couple of days, it steps up a little bit more, right? And like right now, I know I'm about a day and a half away from an information release is what they're telling me. So I don't know who I am. Like I don't have the visual history. I'm not going to name a species or a race or anything like that. Like that's always been kind of in my way. But this information is going to begin to be released in about a day and a half. These are the knowings that I have now. And I'm in full conversation. And while we have brain chatter up here, mine's in the chest. When I talk to them, it's in the chest. So where am I going? I have some ideas, but I'm a really big believer in not sharing potentials until they arrive. Because how many times have we had someone say, well, they're telling me I'm going to live to be 1,000. I'm making this up, right? Yeah. And this and that. You're like, hey, it's been a couple of years. How's that going for you?
Yeah.
So I'm a believer of just letting it show up and then sharing with the world.
Yeah. Incredible. It's a video game. We're in a video game. And as we increase our frequencies, the new levels they unlock, and
Mhm.
there's a new like, like boss that we, crime boss that we gotta like conquer. Once we do that, then the newer levels keep opening
Mhm.
up to us. So the question is, what is the incentive for your higher self to help you? And what is the incentive for your soul, your higher self's oversoul to help them, like in terms of the levels?
Well, remember, we're all one if you think
Mhm.
about it, right? So, and I like to look at it as, I know, funny, a multi-level marketing pyramid. You got the
Mhm.
guy at the top and you got the guy at the bottom. They're all there to help each other,
Yeah.
right? At the end of the day, the soul desires expansion. It desires learning, and it creates these difficult scenarios, right? Modifying the physical human body to bring in, I lost count, 20 different soul aspects, and to change the DNA and the cellular structure to rapidly ascend humanity. That's a big thing, right? It's not just me. There are thousands of other team members, they tell me, up there putting things into alignment. As we could say, imagine having an office staff who's setting up your travel arrangements and your meets and greets. Well, they're doing the same thing. They're making the soul connection so that I meet the right person at the right time to have those next steps and next steps. Their incentive is expansion. This
That
is an experiment,
Mhm.
and they want to see it survive. And we've all signed up for the same mission. And when you're on the mission, when you're on task, there's no wavering. You're on it, you're in it. Everyone's there to do the job.
Amazing. And from just everything that you kind of understood from all the different layers of understanding, what is this? Why are we here on Earth? What is Earth here for in terms of our own soul's mission or evolution?
Again, it gets back to expanding the consciousness's experiences. This is tough. No doubt about it. Those people that say, the human experience is the toughest one out there. Yeah, damn right it is. We really, really go through a lot. And we've gone through the suppression of humanity since the beginning, right? When you want to talk about the DNA changes and who was here and ETs and all that, I don't get into those stories. But since the beginning, we have been manipulated, whether it be at the DNA level or society level. This is a tough game if we want to use an analogy, right? We're here to participate, we're here to learn, and some of us are here to change the entire dynamic, to with thousands of others, not as an individual, but as a collective, we're here to change the narrative, to bring the human back to the true human and bring in those stories of those beautiful golden ages, if you will, where we had harmony amongst each other and we had technologies and access. They're all coming, and it's coming rapidly. There are a lot of folks here helping.
Is it coming in our lifetime?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really, really is. There's always going to be chaos in the world until we completely shift out of that. And we're probably 3 generations, in my opinion. And no, I'm not doing psychic stuff here,
Mm.
but I really think we're a full 3 generations out from the idea of having all of the competition at every level and moving into harmony. But we will begin seeing those fruits very, very soon. And when you turn off the TV, right? When traffic doesn't bother you anymore, you've actually already shifting. You're enjoying that 5D, if you will. And I live it all the time. Yes, sometimes I pop out, right? But yeah, you can live it now.
Yeah. Ascension is really an inside job. If we're getting triggered by the littlest things, then why are we expecting the world to change or to bring that consciousness if we're not living that and embodying
Mhm.
that ourselves, right? So it's everyone's job from an inner stance to start doing that. And then once we can start doing that, we maybe show a little bit of love and light to others, and then it kind of like propels itself. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's a really interesting time to be living in because things are just moving so rapidly. But as much craziness is going on, you're also seeing so many amazing, beautiful things happening from my own perspective, just consciousness arising and people of the same ilk finding each other, soul tribes merging. It's really beautiful.
the way I like to look at humanity right now is that we've gone through a lot of stages in our history. The Bronze era, the Gold era. I'm sorry, the technology era, computer era. These major points in history where humanity shifts. We are in the next one right now. We are living this shift. right? And, in 20, 30 years, we'll look back and say, oh my God, that was when humanity ascended to the next level. That was when everything shifted and changed. So enjoy the ride. It's a little turbulent, but you're here for a reason. You're here with a front row seat.
Yeah, absolutely. So Ken, for those who are super inspired by your journey and want to really step into that on their own lives to do that inner work, where do you suggest they start and to open themselves up to these, these aspects of these souls that maybe have, fragmented off, or, bringing in those higher potentials?
So it's difficult to do the work yourself. We always talk about doing the work ourselves, to go in, right? But every time I have a client that tells me, no, I've done the ancestral work or I've done the past life work, they struggle. Like, how do you heal a past life, right? To go down that rabbit hole of the story and then, well, why would I have done that? It just gets absolutely confusing. So find somebody who can do the work with you and for you. All right. Get someone there to do the heavy lifting. Get rid of those energetic connections that are holding you back from moving forward, those patterns, those habits, those illnesses. Do the work. Cultivate the inside. Do the meditations, right? And move the body. Do the yoga, do the body work. Get rid of the trauma that's stored in the cellular structure of the body. As you do these things and you change your mindset to one of positivity, right? Versus, I'm having a bad day versus, oh, it's going to be a great day. When you start shifting, everything just starts happening. You start getting in tune. Make the shifts you can make. Hire those to help you with the bigger ones. Everything is a journey. There's no easy, you're not going to get a menu in front of you that says, okay, I'm going to do all these things and be done. It doesn't work like that. You're going to do some things and something else, some things and something else. Just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. I hope that helped.
Yeah, absolutely. And can you walk us through, like, if somebody were interested in doing a private session with you or even a group session, like what does it look like? If you could maybe describe a healing session with you.
Yeah. So I have two packages. I've got a 25-minute and a 55-minute. And I usually tell people go for the 25-minute. All right. Because what's going to happen is as soon as we get on the phone, we're just going to start talking. You're going to spend 2 or 3 minutes. You're going to say, listen, my elbow hurts, my back hurts. I have this disease or that disease. And as you see, the thing right there says, I'm not a doctor. I don't do any of that stuff. I'm not going to tell you what you got going on, but you're going to tell me what you want me to help you with. And then I jump in. So as you're talking to me, I'm seeing the video, I'm seeing the images, I'm seeing what spirit's telling me I need to go work on. And then I'll get in there, again, using the shoulder issues. You got a shoulder issue, I would literally reach in there and I will pull up the ancestors that are attached to it. The angels will come in and they'll heal those ancestors. And it takes all of 15 seconds. Same thing with the past life stuff, the childhood trauma. What's nice about childhood trauma that's stuck in the body, at least with me, we're not going to go into the story. You don't need to remember anything. The angels are going to come in and they're going to work on that child, and it'll take all of 10 or 15 seconds, and it's going to release that energetic connection. Now, one of the cool things is I went to a Syrian mystery school. Again, they took me there and they said, listen, when you do your healing, we want you to wave your hand over the body part. So they had this burnt loaf of bread in front of me for this thing that they were doing. I said, all right, whatever. So I ran my hand over it and everything collapsed down into this black dust. They said, okay, so now we want you to run your hand over it again the other way. And I did. And everything rebuilt like a 3D printer, but new. So this is how this works with me. When I'm up there and I'm looking at the shoulder and I have done the work to remove those energetic connections that are attached to it, in my mind's eye, I just wave my hand over the shoulder and the whole thing completely disappears. And then I wait 2 or 3 seconds and I just issue the command rebuild, and everything rebuilds like a 3D printer. And then I'm like, move your arm. It's still popping. Does it hurt? And usually it's taken care of. If not, I'll go in there and I'll tweak some things. But this is a wash, rinse, repeat cycle. Then we move on to the next thing and the next thing. And while it sounds quick and easy, sometimes it's not. Sometimes I'll have to work on the shoulder for 3, 4, 5 minutes, and everything's like an onion. It comes in layers. But this is how I see it. I literally see an animation, and I reach in and I pull the thing out, or I reach in and I talk to the consciousness. I'll talk to the emotion, your heart. I'll have a conversation with the heart, and the heart will just throw the trauma out the door with me. So in a good way, and kicking me out, right? But yeah, these are all conversations I'm having with all these different energies.
Really incredible. If everything is happening all at once, there's no such thing as time, then yeah, you can heal ancestral, you can heal past life, you can heal childhood stuff in an instant. And, I've experienced so much of that in life through different journeys, but I worked with you last week and I was having like really tight back stuff going on. And you tinkered with it a little bit and all of a sudden it just started getting light again. And my flexibility actually has been really good because that's one of the challenges I have lifting heavy weights, especially squats and things like that, is like my flexibility in my legs don't go as far down. But I
Mm.
was squatting today and doing deadlifts and everything felt like super, super easy. So yeah, it's incredible, feeling that way because it hasn't been that way in some time.
One of the things that I ask people to do is to not tell me their story.
Mm.
Don't tell me why your knees are messed up, right? Or the accident you're in, or the surgery this or the surgery that, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's just energy. And even if the part is missing or the part is damaged, as it continues to heal, the energy layer that's put over it reflects the way it's supposed to be in the physical body. So it doesn't matter what had happened to someone. You don't have that flexibility for a while, but I
Mm.
didn't know that, right? But now all of a sudden you have that. I've had people show up who can't walk and they're walking on the way out. And it's not so much to talk about my abilities, it's the fact that they had an experience where they had the situation and then I'm doing the work and they're feeling the shift of discomfort to no discomfort. And then they are taking the step to get up and move. Like even the mental aspect of them, I'll never be able to walk again, that they place in front of them now is going away because they're seeing a shift in the body. And by the way, you'd be surprised how many times we prevent our own healing.
Hmm.
We want to heal, we're paying the person, we're paying the specialist, we're going there, but deep inside, no. I'm able to see that and able to work with people on that as well.
Yeah, I see that every day. People come in for all different types of things at my healing center, and I could see it just by the way they talk. They don't want to heal because they're not ready to heal. But yeah, you could go through the motions, doing all the treatments and everything. But your voice is very powerful, and if your intention is not there, and complaining about everyone else and everything else, it's like, yeah, you might want to. There's deeper in levels to to still
I, I
go.
had a I had a client that had a shoulder issue for like 30 years, right? He likes to play his frisbee golf. Is that what they call it? Disc golf, right?
Yep.
Couldn't do it. And I worked on it for 2 sessions. I'm like, listen, you don't want to heal. Now this guy was in his spiritual practice. This is what I mean. I says, no, I says, you don't want to heal. He says, yes, I do. And boom, that quick, it was gone. And it stayed gone. But I had to call him out in a way that he could accept the information to make the change. So sometimes my healing is just talking, bringing them aware of what's really happening to them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the term is froth, actually. um,
Froth?
froth.
Oh,
Yeah,
frisbee golf.
I remember it from a Seinfeld episode where George Costanza was playing froth.
I don't know, but I see crazy stuff. I see amazing stuff, and every single day I see it.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to what's about to take place with me as every couple of days, more and more and more. And this is the rest of my life. So, have me back on in 6 months and I'll give you an update.
Let's do it. And I want to thank you so much for coming on and all the work that you do. Like you helped me in a lot of ways. The meditations alone are just like absolutely incredible. If anyone, join in on some of the group sessions that you do and do the privates with them because it's really, really powerful stuff. So like the real big banger I want to ask you is, okay, so like obviously there's so many levels to our ascension and higher selves and levels beyond that, but what do you think God is, from your experience?
It's consciousness. It's everything. It really is everything from the smallest atom, smallest bug, to the building itself. To use those metaphors, it is everything, and it is a consciousness that wants to have all experiences. It doesn't have a discrepancy of is it a bad experience or is it a good experience, as one may define it. But recognize its experience isn't just that of the individual, but it's also of the collective as a whole. It wants to experience the planet as the planet goes through its ascension, or the galaxy as the galaxy goes through its ascension. It is everything, but it's not the only thing. There are things beyond source that are also they're also in touch with source, but separate from source, not in the idea of separation of source, and the fact that it is creating its own consciousness of experience as well, which then will emerge back in the future. So this is one of the things, what happens, right? They just kind of come in and they show me these scenes as I start rambling on a little bit. So God is everything. But the idea that God is the one to cause horribleness and beauty at the same time, it's all about the experiences. It really, really is. It doesn't have a discrepancy like that. It's going to happen. Chaos happens before beauty.
Yeah, it's
You know,
it's removing that thought of or that idea of polarity. This is good, this is bad, this is hot, this is cold. There's no such thing. It's all part of the same spectrum. And you have to understand one in order to have the opposite effect and that range of, different emotions and feelings and things, bad, good. It's once we could remove our concept of polarity, then we kind of start understanding there's a bigger game at play
yeah.
than just trying to go around judging everything because yeah, it's not helpful.
When you remove that polarity, your own ascension intensifies.
Yeah.
When you can walk down the street and not judge and just accept. And I don't mean that from a racist way or anything, but you just look at someone and you just feel the love coming from them, regardless of what they're wearing, what they look like, where they're going, what they're doing. It does shift. It just shifts something inside of you.
Yeah, absolutely. And is there any other messages that I guess your soul merging, your merges want to kind of
Yeah.
share?
As they once said, it's going to be a wild ride, Mr. Toad. Expect the next year or two again to be turbulent. There are people like Ken that are now coming online across the globe. There's thousands of them that are put in place to raise the ascension of humanity, and not just human itself, but the earth and all the creatures. As this rises, the chaos will begin to dissolve. And we'll all move forward. The time of waiting is over. The idea of ascension from 2012 forward has been a slow process, putting everything into place. But now that they're in place, everything is going to be accelerated. But it's up to you to choose the journey. So that's the message.
Beautiful.
And whatever I just said.
I love it, Ken. Yeah, I can't wait to do a part two on this and hear what's going on in 6 months because I'm sure it's going to be absolutely incredible. How can our audience learn more about you and work with you?
So the website is Ken Lloyd, LLOYD, official.com. And in there, you can read about my background. I've got the YouTube channel, Instagram, and Facebook, all kenlloyd.official. The sessions are 25 minutes or 55 minutes. And again, I always tell people grab the shortest one because that's probably all you're going to need. And then there are the groups. And ultimately, my private sessions will eventually go away. I'll be intensely too busy to handle the individuals. So one, if you're interested, don't sleep too long, right? But more importantly, get in on the group sessions like you had, right? And you can find them also on the website under events, the transformational healing. I do these every 2 weeks. And right now they're 8 p.m. Eastern. And I'll be adding more as different time zones come online. But that is the everything. That's going to work on your entire process, all your energy fields at once. Whereas if you come to me, you're going to say, I have this ache and this pain and this thing, or tell me about such and such. Do the group and allow it to work across the entire spectrum and then see me. So that's my advice.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate having you on.
All right. Thank you for inviting me. And it's been amazing. And I got to tell you, I love your journey. Just love your journey.
Thank you so much.